It's sunny outside. Hey guys, thanks for tuning back in. This is Super Guy KY, and today this is our project. So it is summertime / spring, and everyone has a problem. You got to cut your grass. Wait, what if your lawnmower doesn't start? So it'll look something like this. Now, when your lawnmower refuses to start, there could be a few different issues, or there could be a few problems as to why. With this exact one in particular, I do know why. Now, gas lawnmowers, just like this one here, they're all the same. They all run on gasoline, they all have spark, they all have compression. That's all that you need. So, there could be one of three problems. Number one, it's not getting compression. Number two, it's not getting spark. Number three, it is not getting fuel. So this exact one, I did have it running earlier using just starting fluid. Now, how am I gonna fix this? I'll show you. Everything I need is right here. I'm not using anything fancy. This is just a plain tool set from Harbor Freight. Here's some new bolts. I'll show you what I'm doing with those in a bit. This is a brand new carburetor inside of here. This is some starting fluid. I'll show you that in a second. And this is just some stuff to clean the carburetor if you can. Now, the one that I have right here, this was actually given to me from a friend that's moving, and this hasn't ran for about 3 years. So I know what the problem is, and I'll show you how to get it running. All right, now I think you can hear that on camera. The engine started out kind of rough, and then it ran a little bit smoother. So I got a brand new can of starting fluid. The old can ran out, so I got this and I kept spraying it right into here. That is the air intake, okay? So it would run perfectly fine, as you guys just saw, while I kept spraying the starting fluid right inside here. Now, this is an old thing that a lot of older mechanics know about. If you can get an engine to start but you can't get it to run, that is a carburetor problem. Now, basically all lawnmowers do have carburetors. Basically none of them are fuel injected, so the carburetor's right inside of here. I'm going to replace the carburetor on this today. Now, before I get to the carburetor, look right here. You can see that's not what it's supposed to be like. So when I actually got this lawnmower from my friend that's moving, these weren't in here, and the whole handrail was just hanging down. So these are some old screws that I had lying around, and I just put them in for now, but of course that's not very safe. So I went to Lowe's, I picked up some bolts, washers, and nuts. I'm gonna put those in real quick. Alright, now that I have a safety issue all taken care of, I have these tight on both sides right here. Careful, that's the throttle cable. So all that I had to do when I went online, I just found a Briggs, let's go right here. I found a Briggs Stratton 650 series carburetor, and it was only $14 on Amazon. Okay, with that said, let's start with deconstruction. Hey guys, it was too loud out in my driveway, so I came in here into my garage. I hope it's a lot quieter for you. So let's start with deconstruction. I'll start with this little panel right here. Now the second panel is right here, and these two are much smaller. Okay, so what I'm gonna have to do, you can see the pull cord is actually right here underneath this panel right here. So I'm gonna have to take the pull cord off right up here. Okay, so now that I have the pull cord holder off from the handle, all I have to do is feed it through. Just like this. And done. Next, there's going to be, I believe, three bolts right here that I'm going to take off. Okay, now that these three bolts here came off, the tank is free to move, just like that. Is that okay? Is that okay? Here's the problem. So right here, behind here is the air filter, and this is the air intake that I was spraying starter fluid into earlier. Right here, that is the carburetor. So the reason that the engine would not idle properly is the carburetor was not mixing the air and the fuel properly before it gets into the combustion chamber. I can make an entire video just off of carburetors, so I won't get into that. But right here, this is the fuel line, okay? So the tank is full of gas. So if I take this off right now, just like that, it will just leak gas everywhere. So what I have to do, I'll pull it back. See how that hose is getting stretched a little bit? So now I have to take off this air filter and air filter cover. Then I can get to that clamp and I can get the gas hose off, or the fuel line off, and I'll point it up so it just stays there. So next is the air filter cover. Okay, so now I'm removing the air filter cover. It is just this one bolt right here. Okay, there it comes. Now right down here, right down inside here, there's little tabs. Now I have to weave it out. So you have to be gentle when you get to this point. Right here, okay? Okay, these little tabs, like I told you. Here's an old worn out air filter. You'll see this in the next video when I replace it. And that's all three. Now this comes right off, except right here, okay? So remember, all that a carburetor does, it mixes air and fuel. Right here, the little tab, that is how the air gets in, okay? Okay, so now this is the fuel line going into the carburetor right here, and it's time to get that off. All that I'm using are a pair of pliers. Get the clamp right here. Okay. So I've got that clamp right there, okay? See if that'll focus. Now, I just wiggle that little clamp off. Not so much, not so much. And be gentle, these are very fragile, they're brittle. Now, all that I'm going to do, I'm just gonna wiggle this off, okay? Right here, where the fuel line goes into the carburetor. I just wiggle this off. There's gonna be a little bit of gas coming out, okay? Now, point it up, okay? So a little bit of gas came out, as you can see. A little bit of gas came out, but that's free and clear. Now I can get to the carburetor. Okay, now that we're looking right at the carburetor right here, quick tip. See this? This is the seal that went in between the carburetor and the air intake. So, I just broke it too, but it doesn't matter. I've got a brand new one in the box. So make sure you replace the seals. There's one right here, and there'll be one back here too. I think this one will be an O-ring, okay? So there's 2 bolts, one there and one inside here, right there. See that? And these are both 10 millimeter. Let's get it out. So all that I've done, I've just loosened those 2 bolts right now, so it'll wiggle a little bit. Right here, don't forget this spring. This spring, I'll be real gentle so you don't break it. Now you can see that right there, okay? So all that you do, you just pull this out, and this, that goes to the throttle, okay? That's a little, you can see right inside there, see that? I'll zoom on this GoPro. Right there. That's the butterfly valve that's going to be opening and closing, okay? Now it's on the other side of that little ridge inside of there. I'll show you that in a second when I get it out. Okay, now we just got that out. See, O-ring, just like I thought right here. Yeah, a little bit of fuel is leaking on me, but look right there. There's that butterfly valve I was talking about earlier, okay? Now usually what happens is these wear out. They don't move as easy as they're supposed to. So right here, when the lawnmower is trying to apply the throttle, it's trying to fine tune that mixture, this just doesn't spin. That could have been what's happening. Inside here, there's a float. Oh, you can see that right there? Yeah, it's full of fuel right here. It's called the bowl. This is called the bowl, okay? Now, I'm just gonna put this down. Now, a quick tip, whether you are a professional mechanic or a do-it-yourselfer, something to get into the habit of is to compare your new parts with your old parts. Whoops, knocked that over. So here is our brand new carburetor, and here is our old one. As you can see, they look basically identical. I have a brand new plunger for the air intake right here. It's gonna help plunge it. It goes through this little cavity. That's where that seal is gonna go. We have a brand new O-ring right here. We have a brand new air filter seal. This is the old one. Now, when you get to this point, you can either replace it with a new one like me, or you can use a carburetor cleaner. Now, this carburetor cleaner, it's not as good as the old stuff. If you're talking back in the 70s and 80s, we would have really good carburetor cleaner. This stuff isn't quite up to par in my opinion, because these carburetors are really cheap and they're not meant to last. So usually what people do is they just replace it, and that's what I'm gonna do. So now let's get this bobber out and get this old one out and the new one in. Okay, so here's the bobber right here. And all this does, it primes for the carburetor through this little, oh, it's right here. Yeah, through this little cavity right here. Okay, now all I'm gonna do is take a small flathead screwdriver. I'm gonna push this. I'm gonna push it up just like that. See? Now let's do it for the other side. Right here. And make sure you got it. You gotta push pretty hard for this. This thing is pretty old, worn out. There we go. Now once you have that gap, you have this gap right here, you can just pry it out just like that. So just pry it out, little bit by little bit. Here she comes. Okay. Out with the old right here, and in with the new. Now this is gonna be a lot easier. All you have to do is line up the little tabs. See those little tabs? And push it in. Now make sure, see that? Make sure it fully seats. So fully seating is that, okay? All the way at the end. That one didn't go either on that side. You can see that right there, right about there. Uh-oh, this thing spun on me, so let me fix it. Okay, so what I did off camera is all that I did is I put my screwdriver in here and I just spun that. I spun this side right here just so I now have a good seat and I can plunge this really easy to help prime the carburetor. Now since I have this already out, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my new seal. Get this seal out of the bag. All you have to do is line it up. So I'll line it up just like that. Nice and easy. Make sure you push it through. Push it through. There we go. All good. While we're here, let's go ahead and put this O-ring on the carburetor right here. But as any good mechanic will tell you, you never put a seal on dry. So I have a little bit of the gunk cleaner right here. This is the small engine and carburetor cleaner. All I'm gonna do is just spray this a little bit. That was a little too much. Now I'm just gonna spray the O-ring. That was way too much, let me hold it. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is place this right in here, okay? Now it'll stay. Now that we have both the air filter and the carburetor all ready, let's go ahead and get it back in the lawnmower. Quick tip, before we get the brand new carburetor back on the lawnmower, if you aren't sure how things go back together, just line them all up. This is what I did. All that I did is I have everything lined up. That is the air filter housing, then the 3 screws, then the outside with the air filter, that 1 screw, then this panel, the 2 screws inside of it, and this one small panel, I have my socket and the screwdriver and the other tools I use. That's it. That's how easy it can be, all right? Now let's go ahead and get this back together. Now make sure when you're putting everything back together, make sure you have your O-ring facing in, okay? And it should fit on just like this. Oh, there we go. Finally went on. Okay. Now, you gotta be gentle. That little plastic piece is really fragile. You gotta get it on, and you gotta wiggle it up. Just like that, okay? Believe it or not, that was very difficult. Okay. Now let's continue. So you want these a snug, okay? You don't want them too tight, just a good snug to completely compress that seal, okay? Now, all that I'm going to do, I'm going to bend this down and I'm going to connect, this fell out somehow. Gotta connect the fuel line right here back to here, okay? Now remember, if your tank's full of gas, it'll leak a little bit just like that. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Wiggle it on. Here we go. Now you can do this by hand if your hands are really strong, but mine aren't. So I'm going to use my pliers. Be gentle. Get the clamp right there, okay? Now this can come back down. Okay, got it. Okay, remember I have that new seal right here. That's gonna go right onto that. And I have this little opening right there. That'll go right into that hose. Now it's gonna be kind of tough to show you here, but at least you can see that right there. What's going on. Then, as long as you line this up pretty good on top. And then remember the 3 screws we took out? When I get those back on, that'll line us up exactly where we have to be. Now you want these snug, you don't want them too tight, okay? Next is the air filter. Now remember, here's these 3 tabs right here, okay? Goes in just like that. But don't forget to have the air filter in here. And then there's only 1 screw, it's this top one. Not too tight. All I have to do is put these top panels back on, then we'll get it outside, give it a rip. Alright, sorry I couldn't film that, guys. So right here for the pull cord, when I was putting this back on, you have to give it a little bit. You have to give it a little bit of the compression stroke, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get this back on. At least that's how my mower was, okay? So all I have to do is put this back on, then let's get it back outside. Alright, she's all put back together. Let's take it outside, see if she runs. Okay, so we're back outside. Everything is put back together. Remember, prime it. It says 3 times. I'm gonna go 9. However many that was, doesn't matter. So, right here, we got plenty of gas, as you can see. Now, all I gotta do is rip the cord. Alright, so it is that simple. All that we had to do was replace the carburetor and she runs. But wait a second. Hang on there, neighbor dog. I'll come pet you in a minute. Easy. Easy. Can you say hi to all the people on YouTube, Alpha? Can you say hi? Can you say hi? You're a good puppy. Aren't you? You're a good puppy. Got your ear. I got your ear. Ooh, you can smell me. Hee. Alright, Alpha. Say bye-bye to all the people on YouTube. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Boink. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So, we fixed it and now it runs. But what about maintenance? So, in the next video, what you're going to see me do, we're going to replace the oil filter. That's pretty easy. We are going to get a new blade on. You can either sharpen it or put a new one on. I'll put a new blade on this mower. And I'll show you how to change the oil on a push mower. Hey, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. And as always, be super today.